another Nostalgianomics Live. How's everyone doing? I already see some Merry Christmases in the chat. I love it. We are officially, a week before Christmas now? It's getting pretty exciting. I'm going to wait a few minutes to get into things before some people file in here. Just kind of give everyone a chance because I spent this morning making this video and I decided to scrap it and just do it live because it's gonna take a while to kind of get through everything, and I just really wanted to kind of have a chat interaction when I talked about this because I'm sure it's something people are gonna want to interact with and interact to, and so yeah, I mean, guys, it's really all gonna go about like selling because I know there's just so much information about selling Pokemon, and there's so many different routes to take, but recently, I mean, especially this year for sure, a lot more people have been getting interested in it. Obviously, I went full time, and I feel like a lot of the information out there is one, it's incomplete, and then a lot of the other information is very misleading. It's very embellished, and it doesn't tell the real story of how much people are actually making. And the reason is because it's really fun and sexy to use those big sales numbers. But it's not sexy to dig down in the trenches and in the weeds and really explore what you're actually making off those sales, because you can get on and show however many sales you want. You can show hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. You can show millions of dollars in sales. It really doesn't mean anything unless it reaches your bottom line, right? Unless it reaches all the cards or product it took to actually buy. It's grading costs or all that stuff, travel costs worked into it, selling costs, shipping costs, normal business expenses, whatever it may be, to actually get to that money that you put in your pocket at the end of the day and take as an income. Because those are two very, very different numbers. You could have someone sell 200 grand and they could end up making, 20 grand if they had a 10% margin, right? If they had a 20% margin, maybe 40 grand. So, but again, average audience sees big numbers and says, oh my gosh, I want to be him. I want to be that successful. I'm going to sell Pokemon cards, especially getting into the new year. That's especially why I wanted to make this video now because, New Year starts up. People want to try things. They want to, New Year's resolution. I'm going to dip my foot in deeper. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to make all this money. I see other people doing it. And here's the thing. People making the biggest money in this industry, one, are who have been in a long time and they have a huge inventory. And maybe they even have connections to where they're doing maybe consignments or they're running other different businesses, or it's people who are doing massive, massive amounts of volume. I'm not talking a few hundred grand. I'm talking millions of dollars a year in volume, right? Because then if you have a 10, 15, 20% margin and you're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 million, well, now you are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing this. But it's not realistic for the average person. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump into this and we're really going to dive in and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Because again, I don't know why it bothers me. I really don't. Like you can say, Alex, why do you care? I don't know. I really don't know. It bothers me to see people not give the full information to people, to show off sexy big sales numbers, but never actually talk about how much money they're living off of. When in fact, like you could look like you're killing it. You can go to, you guys know how I feel about shows. You can go to shows and say, I walked away with 10K in my pocket. It's like, well, what did all those raw cards cost? What did it cost to grade them? What did the table and cases cost? What did the travel cost? What did the food cost? What did the hotel cost? How much money is actually yours, right? And the same thing goes for selling. It's just like, are you making more than what you can make just like, I don't know, managing your local grocery store or sitting in a cubicle, working for your insurance company near you? Like, how much money are you actually making after everything's said and done? So let's jump into it. And then we can talk about it. You guys can give me your thoughts. You guys can blow me up or whatever you want to do. But I'm going to be more than fair with these numbers on this fictitious card or fictitious company because, guys, you can look around right now, especially with modern, the profit margins have disappeared. I mean, you're lucky these days, unless it's a brand new card and you're playing first to market, you're lucky if you're doubling your money on 10s anymore. Like if you buy a $30, $40, $50 card, you're lucky if it sells for $80 to $100 in a 10. 9s, they sell for basically what a raw card does. Maybe a little more, but after grading fees and selling fees, you're losing money on 9s. So it's not like this, everyone making money anymore, no one gets punished. Like people are getting punished these days. So I'm going to jump into the spreadsheet. Here we go. Share the screen. All right. Here we go, guys. So this is what I'm talking about. We can look at it. And then at the end, we can talk about it a little bit. So I just took fictitious card A, right? All right. So we're going to buy a card that's $50, right? It's a $50 raw card, and we're going to buy 20 of them. Now, let's talk about that first, right? You can buy them from a whole bunch of different places. One, you can go buy from your local card shops or go to local events and shows or travel to shows. There's a whole slew of costs that are associated with that. Maybe if you're real close shops, you're not really spending much on gas or anything. But if you got to drive, well, you're spending money on gas, right? You're traveling, right? Wear and tear in your vehicle. You're spending large amounts of your time going out of your way to travel, looking through all of these cars and all this, doing a whole bunch of work, right? Traveling back home, doing all that. If you're going to shows, you're paying event fees, right? Fees to get in, all that type of stuff. So there's that. You can buy on eBay or PWCC or other auction houses. But then you're spending a whole bunch of time there. You got to look through all kinds of listings. I see the Green Shiz is in here. He spends whole, Sunday nights on his channel. If you guys want to check out him, just going through Z&G Emporium's auctions or going through PWCC auctions and spending all kinds of time. You got to look at each individual listing, click on the pictures, zoom in, look at the pictures really closely, decide if it's worth your money, wait for the auction to end, try to end it. Or you can do the same thing on eBay and you can do the same thing, look for auctions, or you can buy it now if you find good cards that are actually gradable or whatever it may be. But it takes a whole lot of time, right? Or you can do the TCG player route, buy a whole bunch of cards real easily, near mint, buy a bunch of quantity, but then it's a way less front-end work, but it's more back-end work because you got to pre-grade them, sell off all the raws that aren't gradable, which is a lot more, and to rinse and repeat that process, there's a lot of work there. But let's go back into it. Taking all that out of the equation, all the time, energy, effort, all the expenses that go along with that. Take all that out of it, right? Things you could have been doing with your time, the opportunity cost of your time, what you could have been spending your time on, than sifting through all those cards. Anyways, you found 20 cards, right? You found 20 cards. You spent $50 a piece. That's $1,000. Now, that $1,000, you're not going to see that for a while, right? You got to get the cards in. You got to sift through them, pre-grade them. The ones that are gradable, right? You got to make your submission. You got to send them in. You got to wait months to get them back. When you get them back, you don't get your money. You got to list them. You got to wait for them to sell unless you're just going to throw them all at the whim of an auction and hope for the best. But then you got to wait for them to sell. You might see your $1,000 back in 3 to 6 months if you're lucky. Okay, that's first off. Okay, now you got grading costs, $16 a card. Yeah, PSA is $15, but unless you're doing massive orders, the shipping to PSA and the shipping back from PSA, that eats into your cost. It's usually about $16, sometimes more per card, depending on how high your order is, how big of an order you send. So about 15 something to 16 something a card is what it's going to cost you. So that's another $240. Now, luckily, you don't have to pay that until you actually get your card shipped back to you. So, realistically, yeah, you can throw it on a credit card, probably have enough sold by the time that gets you before that credit card bills due. So you never really see that $240 out of your bank account. But again, that $1,000 is being long gone. All right. So your total expenses is $1,240. All right. Now let's get to the sales, right? Card one. This is assuming, we're making assumptions here, right? You could do better, you could do worse. We're going to assume out of 20 cards, 5 of them just weren't gradable, right? Now, if you're buying in person, obviously you're not going to buy a card unless it is gradable. If you are buying on eBay, even some of those cards that look perfect in pictures come in, you can't grade them. TCG Player, a lot of the cards probably come in ungradable. But let's say 5 come in ungradable, okay? And then of that, a pretty good percentage, we'll say 70-something% of them get 10s, which is pretty average, right? If you're not a good pre-grader and you're new to this, you might do worse. If you're very good, it's probably around what you're going to see, especially with English cards. So we'll say 11 of those 15 you send get 10s and 4 of them get 9s. Now, the raw, you're selling right back on the market, same cost you bought it for, $50. The 9s, they'll go for a little more than raw usually, but not much more. So we'll say they go for $60, and the 10s will be very generous and say the 10s are 2x your money. The 10s are going for $150. This is pretty similar to like the Celebration Charizard, right? You get it for about $70, $80. It goes for about $170, $180 on the market. Pretty similar margins there, right? So there you go. Total sales, right? We got 5 of them times $50, $250. 4 9s times $60, $240. 11 10s times $150, $1650. Now remember, this takes time to sell all these. You don't just snap your fingers and they sell. Now, if you want to send them all to auction, sure, they'll sell right away, but you probably won't get these numbers. You're going to get less usually. So this takes time, but we're not going to get into that again. We're not getting into that, just the numbers. eBay fees, 13%, pretty standard. And shipping, $4 a piece. You can ship through eBay, use the eBay shipping label, but after, shipping materials and costs and the shipping label usually costs around $4 per item to ship. And yes, you're probably going to be shipping these raw cards tracked as well. You're probably not going to use an eBay standard envelope. Oh, you can't use an eBay standard envelope for a $50 card, but you're probably also not going to send them through TCG Player for a $50 card untracked. So yeah, you're probably going to spend $4 for the raw too. So here's your expenses, right? eBay fees, shipping. Here's your profit, right? You got this profit left for the raw, this profit for the 9s, this profit for the 10s. So you did $2,140 in sales. You made $1,781. Great. Wrong. You got to remember to take out your raw card costs and your grading costs, which leaves you with a net profit of $541. Now, to blow this up on a massive scale to the numbers that you see on YouTube, to all the big flashy, sexy numbers on the screen everyone likes to show, this is what it would look like. If you multiplied those numbers by 100, you would show $214,000 in sales, but you would have made $54,180. Pretty much what you can make at any job out there. It's not that sexy, guys. It just isn't. And again, these are good margins. Look, this is $540. I mean, you made $2,140 in total sales, right? From a card that you only put $1,000 into and $240 grading fees. That's like a 50% margin there, right? That's way better than a lot of the cards out there right now. A lot of the cards, if you haven't looked right now in modern, especially, you're lucky to double your money, right? You're lucky to find a $40 card and it be worth more than $80, $90, $100 as a 10, right? So this is very fair. Your margins are probably going to look worse than this. Realistically, on 200,000 in sales, you're probably going to be less than 50 grand in total profit. Okay. This is the reality of this. Oh, by the way, if you're a sealed person, those are even less. I talk to very, very high level sealed sellers. I'm talking people who do millions a year. Okay. Their profit margins are razor thin, like 10%, 15% maybe. That's their margins. That's it. So when you see these people posting $2-3 million, they're making good money. They're probably making 200, 300, 400 grand a year, but they're not making $2 million. And they are working. They're shipping large amounts of product. They're taking large amounts of risk. They're taking losses throughout the year. Okay. But that's the issue with what I have with like total sales, right? Is people will show their eBay 90-day sales, or they'll show their eBay 1-year sales, or whatever they want to show. And what the issue is look, I can just go buy and flip and break even all year. I can show you $1 million in sales. I'll just keep buying and flipping and buying and flipping. I'll break even. I'll lose money. You could lose money all year long and show $1 million in sales. It's all about how you want to run your business. All that really matters is the net profit. Also, when it comes to this whole business, right? 20, 30, 40% margins, those are pretty normal. You can ask anyone out there, if anyone's selling in the chat, go ahead and let me know. Let me know if that's not realistic. So I always get asked about doing shows, right? Everyone always asks me to do shows, do collecticons, go vend, right? Here's the realistic vending, right? I'll show you those numbers. Collecticon and other events, right? Let's say, and I talk to people, usually between like $5,000 and $10,000 is pretty average on a collecticon or a show's weekend. That's usually around what you're going to sell. Unless you have a large inventory, you're a big seller, you get tons of tables, whatever it may be. That's pretty average, especially if you're starting out. This is for people who want to start out and want to start doing this, don't have gigantic inventories with thousands of $1,000 cards and all that. This is realistically what you're looking at. You're going to go to collecticon, you're going to have $8,000 in sales. Now, when you talk to people, when people get on the internet, they're going to say, I walked away with $8 grand in my pocket. I'm balling. I did great. It's like, okay, how much of that is yours though, right? Remember, you got your inventory. Now, estimating 30% margins, right? After the raw cards and all the cards you bought, and after all the PSA, whatever grading company you use to grade, right? Because remember, it's not all profit. You're spending money on that inventory. So after all your inventory costs, that's the biggest portion of all that money. And then you have your table and cases costs, right? And if you just get one table and 2 cases, it's roughly that much, right? Then you have your travel, which people will say, well, Alex, I used my air miles. That's still your money. That's not free. You can say it didn't cost me anything. It did. You can use that money to buy more inventory. You can spend it on your everyday living expenses. It's still your money. You spent money to get those credit card points. Now they're yours. If you want to spend them on travel, you still spent that money. It was yours to use however you want in your life. If you spend it on travel, you still spent it. It still costs you money. That's my view on it. Then the hotel cost, right? Whatever hotel you stay in. Then you got food. You got to eat while you're down there. You're down there for 2 full days straight, not to mention the day you're traveling. Food costs the whole time. Then you get down to your total of $1,290 is around what you would expect of $8,000 in total sales. So you're making roughly $650 a day to vend for 8-10 hours a day, whatever it costs, all the setup, all the work. That's realistically what you're looking at. Some may do better, some may do worse, right? But these are the real numbers, people. Like this is why I have such an issue of people discussing their sales, or people showing that the stonks they make on tens, or people, acting like they're balling at these shows. It's like, guys, the majority of people, this is what you're looking at. These are the real numbers. I don't want to name any names, right? But there's multiple people online that show their sales, show their 90-day sales, talk about how the money they make, talk about the stonks they make on grading tens. Guys, I'm just trying to be real here. I'm just trying to show you what it actually looks like when you run this business. By the way, this isn't any business expenses, right? This doesn't take into account shipping supplies, any office expenses, any other, anything else that goes into it. Now, yeah, it also doesn't take into account the write-offs that you can have as a business, right, to save yourself on taxes. It doesn't take into account the shows if you're getting cash payments and doing unscrupulous things like not claim that money with the government. But after all said and done, it kind of averages out. This is what you're looking at running a Pokemon business, even if you get to $250,000, $500,000 in sales. Like I said, go back to that spreadsheet, double that number. Let's say you did 428,000, okay? You maybe cross 100 grand, right? So you're running a 400K business to make 100 grand. That's a whole lot of volume, a whole lot of raw singles, a whole lot of grading, a whole lot of risk, a whole lot of. By the way, you're going to have to build up inventory to get to this level. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds of cards on your inventory sitting stagnant, not selling for months on end. You don't just start out making this, right? This is going to take months and months, probably years, or at least a year or more to actually build up to have enough inventory to support that amount of sales. Because you're not going to get that having 100, 200 cards, right? You need to have 500, 1,000 plus inventory to be able to do those kind of numbers. Meaning you have all that capital, all that money just sitting there, right? It's not in the bank, right? It's not in a fund earning you 10%, right? It's not in, any like bonds or treasuries that are getting a guaranteed 5-6%. It's not in other investments that can make you more. It's sitting in stagnant inventory that sells slowly to make that amount of money working. Whereas, someone just working a regular job, you could easily make 50, 60, 70, 80 grand, right? And then you could easily invest that money and let that money work for you over time instead of constantly reinvesting all your money into inventory, trying to fight to make a living. So this is the reality, guys. This is the reality of this business. Now, there's people that do better. There's people that do worse. Some have better profit margins. Some have worse. Some have different deals they have going on. Some run consignment businesses. Some have other, forms of income besides just this. There's a million different things out there, but don't get mesmerized by the sales figures. Don't get mesmerized by the small amount of great plays or PSA 10s people show you. There's a lot of 9s in there. Guess what? You know what I didn't show in this example? The amount of 8s and 7s and PSA 5s that they randomly throw in there. The absolute complete losses. You know what I don't throw in there? The amount of slabs people crack and try to regrade and just eat that $16 per slab cost. You know, I didn't throw any of that in there, right? We didn't talk about that. We also didn't talk about the time investment very much. We didn't talk about a lot of the other things that go into this that it honestly, for a lot of people, it just won't be worth it. I've already said it before. If I didn't also have my hands in a few other businesses, service-based businesses, if I didn't have, things going on YouTube and different things with affiliate links and different things going with sponsorships and, other forms of income, I don't think I'd want to do just this full time. I mean, to make the amount of money that I could make elsewhere, it would take an insane amount of work. Like to replace my old income, to go, make 150, 200 grand a year doing this. I'd probably have to sell a good, $600 to $1 million a year in total sales, at a pretty decent profit margin to replace that income. That's the reality of this, guys. So, if you were thinking about starting a business next year, if you're thinking about doing this more, seriously full time, just take all these things into account. Okay. And understand what actually goes into it. I'm going to take some questions and feedback from the chat now. and see what you guys have to say about all this. Because that's why I want to do this live. I'm really interested. I didn't want to just like get a bunch of comments on a regular video and try to reply to those and do that whole comment section thing. So what do you guys think? What do you guys have to say about it? Let's see. Jeff says, enough with money and investing. Get back to collecting, having fun. I'm sure. Did you just see Ava's Binder's first video back? That's a lot of what she was talking about. Getting back to collecting, 100%. There's Green Shiz. Green Shiz is in the house. Merry Christmas, man. What's up, buddy? MC, I'm just buy and hold right now. No plans to sell for many years. Just got into Pokemon during Sword and Shield. Anxious to see prices on sealed 3 to 5 years. You and I both. I'll be real. I've seen you using sale listing prices for some arguments when I don't think you should ever look at those for real value. Sale listing prices. What do you mean by that? What do you mean sale listings? When you buy, you should buy at the lowest prices. When you sell, you should sell where you can get the highest prices. So yeah, definitely use sale listings for purchases. Let me know. Give me a little more context, and I'll address it. I'm doing the bulk 151 route up to 8K, going for 100K, mostly reverse hollows, and hold for the 510X. 8K, is that like total inventory? That's a good amount, man. Don's always in here gifting subs. Thanks a lot, Don. Appreciate you. Trow, winners win. Guys, Trow is an official -1 level investor, if you didn't know that. I'm just messing with you, man. Kevin, what's up, Alex? How we doing? I'm going aggressive with One Piece box investment in the days since Pokemon is a bit slow in the new Scarlet Violet era. All the best, man. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, One Piece is a huge, great alternative right now while Pokemon's kind of finding its footing in Scarlet and Violet. The tax and shipping and grading and eBay fees, it's risk. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get into the taxes because taxes are a funny thing. There's a lot of business stuff you can do to get your tax bill down. But yeah, there is still taxes on top of that. Some way, shape, or form, you are going to pay tax eventually. So yeah, I get it. Taxes is another portion that you have to add on. Joel said, I'm on month 4 waiting for a 90 card submission. My money has been tied up for a long time. Yep, that's kind of how it can be. If I were to sell my sealed product to a TCG store rather than myself on eBay, would I make more or less on eBay? I have fees, but I don't know if the store would expect to buy it cheap off me. Yeah, so depending on the store, depending on the buyer, 70% is what you want to shoot for. Depending on the inventory, you might not be able to get 70%. I mean, maybe you might be able to get more if it's really liquid inventory. Some stores will pay more. Some sellers will pay more. But, let's say you can get 70, 75%. You're going to get, you're only going to really eat 15% on eBay. So there's probably a good 10, 15% extra you're going to get selling yourself on eBay. You just have to decide for yourself, is the work worth it, right? I have never sold a card. My raw collection is built over the years. I'm very happy to own the cards. I especially do my special illustrations. Yeah, that's cool too. Enjoying owning the card, enjoying collecting. It's all the best. Hey, Ava's in here. Ava, what's up? So guys, if you didn't know, Ava's Binder posted her first video back. And of course, in typical Ava fashion, it blew up, like always. I mean, I think it's probably close to 10,000 views now. She just, casually steps back into YouTube after months and years. No, not years, but months and months. And absolutely, back on top. So it's awesome to see. It was a great video. If you guys didn't check it out, check out her channel. It's just like her screen name says. But Ava, if you're here still, when are you getting on for a live? We got to have you on now that you're back on YouTube. Good to see you here, though. And Beth checked sell-through rates prior. People need to understand this concept. Otherwise, you'll tie up a lot. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, guys. Like, go look at your favorite sellers, your favorite PokeTubers, right? And go visit their eBay stores, the ones that have it public. Look at their inventory. They have hundreds, if not thousands of items sitting on their inventory. That is all money that is just sitting there, right? Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting there in inventory, not selling, right? Now you can take the auction route, just ship it all off to Z&G Emporium, and they'll do the best job they can, right? They got great pictures, they got great titles, great listings, they got tons of audience. The truth is, I mean, auctions can only do so well. And so you're going to take a lot lower prices than if you just wait. And so, yeah, you can free up that inventory, but you're going to take a lot less. Your margins are going to be even less and less. And so it's a very real problem. You know, on any retail, not just Pokemon, just any retail business, it's always an issue locking up tons of capital to have products in your store. Can we talk One Piece a little? Yeah, I'll get into One Piece a little bit. Again, supply and demand. If supply is high and the sell rate is low, prices will be dropping. Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't get into, which happened to me, obviously, with cards. When you do all your numbers, right, all your statistics, and you look at, you know, what you can buy raw, what it goes for a 9 and a 10, what your margin's going to be, that can shift while those cards are at PSA or at CGC, whatever you grade with. And by the time they get back, a lot of those profits, if not all of them, could have disappeared. You might be taking losses on those cards depending on what you bought them for. Now, if the market turns around and things rise, you could actually, you know, benefit from that, from the, you know, cards sitting there for a few months. But lately, it hasn't been that way. And so if the market continues to do that, yeah, your margins will just disappear more and more each day. I'm pre-ordering all SV sealed booster cases at a decent prices because, you know, eventually we're going to get an Evolving Skies type set, and then the average sets will do fine over time. Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting for that, aren't we? We're getting into that mid-era. It's that middle of the era. It's time. We're waiting for that Evolving Skies to come. And check percentage of gem rate and figure even a good pre-grade only bumps 20%. Yeah, that's the thing, guys. Like, pre-grading is an art. It is a skill, right? I've been doing it a long time. I graded my first order back in 2017, I believe. And so I've been grading now for what? almost 7 years now, at least 6 years now. Sent over 1,000 cards to PSA now, but I mean, probably a couple thousand. So I've done it a lot, right? I know a lot about pre-grading. I know what to look for. I understand, you know, what centering PSA looks for. I understand like what the metrics and parameters are. Even myself, I still end up in that 70 to 80% 10 rate a lot of the time, especially with English cards. That's kind of where you end up. And so you got to think about that. If you're not very skilled or you don't have a lot of experience, you might be in that sub 70, sub 60% 10 rate. And I mean, nines are losses. And so it really eats into your profit margins. And it's a risky business. Even when you do well, even when you're good at it and you get good gem rates and you have good margins and the market doesn't drop, it's still hard to have a huge profit margin. But again, this is not what you hear about a lot. You hear about, you know, how great it is to have all these big sales numbers and, oh, this big stonk I made on this 10. And, you know, it's not as easy as people make it sound. I'm considering Rudy's Patreon. Love his videos, but don't think he has any openings. Guys, I'm in Rudy's Patreon, and I've just been supporting him. I don't buy from him because the prices are too high. I will say though, depending on how much you're going to buy, you might want to look into Pokemart USA's Patreon. It's expensive, right? I'm not going to, you know, blow sunshine at Eli. It's expensive, right? It's like 90, 95 a month, maybe like 85 if you buy for the year, but it's expensive, right? But he actually sells to you at his prices, his distribution prices. Rudy does not. Rudy says he does, but really it's like market prices on almost all of his items. I'm in his Patreon. I look at it. I look at the prices every time. They're not that great of deals, guys. Whereas Eli, whatever his distributor gives it to him for, that's what you're paying. If he gets them for $88 a booster box, you're paying $88. If he gets them for $31 in ETB, you're paying $31. If he gets collection boxes at $12, you're paying $12 plus shipping, no taxes up till now. So it really depends on how much you want to go. But I mean, honestly, guys, if you just wait for like sales at like local stores or eBay or TCG Player or TikTok, you're going to find better deals than Rudy gives. I mean, I like Rudy. I love his content. It's just his Patreon deals are just not the greatest. It's a real grind is what you're saying. It really is. It really is. Yeah, you got to talk about the sell-through. 214K in slabs will take years and years and years with a lot of declining values. Exactly. You know, that's what people don't talk about. Then they go to collecticons, right? And they sell a bunch of make a bunch of sales. And what they're not telling you is, yeah, it's the stagnant inventory they couldn't sell, so they marked down at collecticon, barely probably took a profit for it. Because here's the thing, guys, I could have 100 PSA 9s, right? And I could sell every one of them for $25, right? And now what is that? Now that's $2,500 in sales. And I can be like, guys, I made $2,500 in sales. Truth is, after grading fees and raw card costs and selling fees and shipping, I lost money on every single one of those sales. But it looks real good saying I made $2,500 in sales, doesn't it? Although I did all that work to lose money. You see what I'm saying? That's what you have to remember. But yeah, it takes a lot of inventory and a lot of sales to make 200K plus a year. And when you make that, you're making about 50K a year on average. Which, I mean, guys, it's a lot of work to make 50K. I mean, what's minimum wage now in a lot of places? Like 30K? Just saying. Okay, here we go. I used to do Patreon Pokemon USA, but that was a issue. Only was there for 2 months. What was the issue with it? What's wrong with the Patreon? I mean, it's the prices are fair. I know that. I don't know what issues did you have with it, Alex? Your tactic to get ungradable raw cards. Some of the prices are going down. Sell the bad raws at a loss, or wait for break even. So here's my strategy, guys, and this is going to be different from a lot of people you hear. A lot of people are very pro sitting on inventory. And you can say like, well, it's because they're not in a rush. They don't need the money. But I don't really agree with that. I don't need the money either, right? Like, if I don't make a dime from selling Pokemon, put it this way, if I don't work, our bills are covered with my wife's income. I'm also, like I said, I also am part owner in 2 different businesses, service-based businesses. I have obviously YouTube. There's sponsorships. There's affiliate links, other things. I have other income, right? So even if I didn't make a dime off Pokemon selling, I'm fine. Like, I don't need the money, okay? And I have money in the bank, whatever. I still don't think it's wise to sit on dead inventory. People give me crap for auctioning cards. Heck yeah, I'm going to auction cards. If I see cards, right, that so let's say, I'll give you perfect examples, right? I'm not going to walk over and get them. You can look at my eBay right now. I've got like the gold Reshiram Charizard tag team card. It's like a Sun and Moon promo at auction. I'm sending like trainer gallery cards at auction. Like, if I have PSA 9s, right, that say they sell for $25, $27, $30, $20 full price on eBay. Like, that's the lowest list. That's what they're actually selling for. And I can auction those cards off right now and get like, $20, $22, $24 for them. And I maybe lose like $2, $4, $6 than what I would have got waiting to sell them. I'll just keep running those through auctions to get rid of them, because in the big scheme of things, getting that money back out of them rather than just sitting on dead inventory until the end of whatever and try to sell them at Collecticon and still I can pump my sales, make it look like bigger. It's stupid, in my opinion. I'd rather rinse and repeat that inventory. I'd rather get the dead inventory out, get more inventory, and I'll sit on the good inventory. I'll sit on all the 10s and all the good 9s that I have multiples of that actually sell at good multiples. Like, here's the thing. If a card sells at, say, $40, right, and at auction they're selling for like $25, I'm not going to auction that card. But if I got a card that's selling for $40 and the last 3 auctions ended at like 34, 36, 35, I'm auctioning that card every day. I'll eat the $5 and get the money right now instead of sit on it. Because here's the other issue people don't talk about. The danger of waiting. You can wait and not sell that card, and guess what? Now more people get their cards back, and they start listing their cards. And now that lowest list on eBay goes lower and lower and lower. And now that $40 card, the lowest list is now 36. Now it's 34. Now it's 32. But you could have auctioned it and made $35 anytime you wanted. But now the market price got pushed down. And this happens with every card, right? It happened with my, I talked about it, those Lugias, the Silver Tempest Lugias. I listed mine, lowest list on eBay. Didn't sell. Checked a week later. It was about $5 lower. So I relisted at lowest list. Checked a week later. It was lower and lower and lower until it finally sold. But then I looked back, and when I first listed it, I was like, I could have auctioned it right when I got that card and made more than what I eventually sold it at. And that's true for a whole lot of cards, especially these days. So sometimes it can make sense to just get the cards off your books, auction them, take a little less value if the values are close, rinse and repeat, get the money, use the capital to buy more cards, get better inventory. And so, yeah, that's definitely a thought process that needs to go through your head. A lot of people they just love to, I don't understand it. They love to just build up their inventories. They want to have hundreds and thousands of cards listed on their eBay. I don't want that. Why do I want 500 cards listed on my eBay, letting tens of thousands, if not $100,000 plus in inventory just sit there? Why would I want that? I'm going to start moving stuff. I'm going to start making deals, right? Because if I can move inventory and still make a profit, I can get new inventory that actually sells faster and keep making more profits. So that's my, tactic when it comes to selling. I'm much more of a churn and burn type guy. I'm less of a, hey, just let it sit. It'll sell eventually, never auction. I'm just not that guy. I don't think it's the most effective way to sell. Guys, think about this. I came from a sales industry. Think about this, right? It's always better to sell something than to not sell something. It sounds elementary, but think of it this way. When I ran my old landscaping lawn care company, right? If I give a landscaping bid, right, and say it was $10,000 job, all right? If that customer just wasn't going for it, right? And I said, well, hey, look, we got a deal going on this month. I can give you $500 off, and they're not going for it, whatever it may be. Even if I sold that same $10,000 job to another customer the same week, right? It still makes sense for me to maybe come down to $9,000, maybe come down to $8,700, whatever that price point that customer will bite. As long as I still have a profit margin built in, it still makes sense to get that job because it keeps you working, it keeps your crews going, it keeps money pouring in, it keeps your schedule filled. Instead of just saying, okay, well, that's the price. Sorry, I'll move from that. Now, when times are good during the pandemic, right? Everyone's buying. You say, hey, take it or leave it. If you don't buy this service from me, I know I got 10 other bids I'm giving today. Someone else is going to buy it. We don't discount prices. But when the market is right now and things aren't selling as fast and people don't have as much business, heck yeah, take any business you can as long as it's still profitable, right? Same thing goes with cars. You're seeing the car commercials come back, right? They're discounting cars again. They're starting to give you the rebates and the dealer cash and all that stuff. That's what people do. Instead of holding out for top value, it's okay to discount or send things at auction if it means moving inventory. So that's my thought process on the whole thing. It always makes sense to make a sale instead of not make a sale. Let's see. I don't know. Shirtless. I got these boxes. Shirtless. Oh, it must be. I got those boxes for $100 or less when they come out, and doing just fine now. Can always get boxes for $100 or less, well below MSRP. Yeah, you can get them less almost every set right now. 90-day eBay sales are the easiest way to pretend you're a baller. Show that revenue. That's it. 100%. I hate it so much. I hate sales figures so much. Especially from industries I've came from, home construction industry and stuff. Guys, I would sell projects for 50 and 100 grand where the company's going to make $8 grand off of it. For a 50 grand job, 100 grand, maybe 16, 20 grand. The margins after the cost of materials and the labor and everything and business expenses, they're thin in most industries, same in Pokemon. So yeah, you can go sell $1 million. The company's going to make 50 grand, right? It's so easy to show these gigantic sales numbers, but not really have a ton of profit to back it up. Not net profit, inventory costs, sell-through rates matter most. If you end up taking most of your profits on stale merch, you're going under. Yep, 100%. Let's see what we got going on. Sorry, gross revenue. eBay 90-day ignores all costs. Yeah, exactly. Guys, literally, I could start a store and just for shits and giggles, right? Start a new store for next year, and I could throw 100 grand into inventory, auction it all off, right? Take 80 grand maybe for it, and do that 10 times and lose tens of thousands of dollars. But then I could turn around and be like, hey guys, I sold 400 grand last year on eBay. Look at me. It's so stupid how people don't ever ask hey, what went into selling that 400 grand? Very funny. Very funny. Alex, what are you talking about? Who says that? I'm genuinely curious. Right. You know me, man. I've gotten in trouble too many times naming names. I don't do that anymore here. Because if they have it in stock, it's not fire sale product. It's an accumulated of non-selling slabs. Otherwise, they wouldn't have it in stock. Yeah. That's the thing, guys. I would rather have very little stock, and every time I get new inventory in, it sells quickly and I can use that money immediately, than build up this large inventory just to consistently have consistent sales. I think consistency is overrated. I think balance is overrated, right? I think the whole consistent, people, I want to see a consistent X amount of sales per day or consistent X amount of dollars in sales per week. I think it's overrated. Why? Why do you need to, right? Let's say I get a 200 card PSA order in, right? If I can sell that whole 200 cards in a week or two and get all that money back and do it again, why would I not do that other than like build up my inventory and get a consistent, like maybe a couple sales a day and slow trickle in? And like, I get in terms of like building a large scale inventory and getting like consistent like cash, but in all honesty, it's like if I can just do that, 5, 8, 10 times a year, I could make all my sales in a matter of a few week period each time and still have the same amount of revenue. Now, obviously, you have to be better with budgeting your money, right? You have to budget your income better and adjust your lifestyle to do that, because you're going to have large influxes of cash and then long periods of time where you don't have influxes of cash. But I still think you're going to be better off getting out of your stale inventory and moving on. That's just my opinion. Yeah, Rudy does open up Patreon spots. I'm actually considering leaving his Patreon finally at the end of this year. So I'll let you guys know. And then, when that spot opens up, you can rush in. I'm at the $15 tier. Because he used to have deals from time to time that made sense where you could actually make some profits. But lately, man, Rudy ain't it. I love Rudy, love his content, but his Patreon, it ain't it anymore. I think he got enough loyal followers that would just buy from him no matter what, that are willing to pay full market price. Let's see. 500,000 in sales will have inventory 10 to 20 that size generally. Yeah, it does seem like that, right? Like, depending on how you run your store, like my store certainly won't. Like if I look at like my store, I'm trying to think my total sales. See, unfortunately, like my sales are spread out, probably because I have an online presence. I sell a lot through Instagram or Discord, through like Venmo or PayPal and stuff like that. And so my eBay sales only account for maybe like 70-ish% of my sales probably. And I have some on TCG Player, but then a lot of it's, private. But I would say my total sales this year is probably about what I have listed on eBay right now. Like I said, I churn and burn that stuff. If it wasn't for my first edition base stuff, my first edition base is the only stuff that's not selling because, surprise, surprise, it's vintage, it's illiquid, we know. But everything else, my inventory, it goes. Like I list a lot of it very competitively. It's not always the lowest list, but it still sells. I try to have good pictures and good titles, and if I promote some of the listings and take a little less percentage and pay eBay a little more to sell stuff, I will. And I try to run through it quickly. And so I'm probably a little less than, I'm probably not like you're talking about, but yes, there's definitely people out there who just have gigantic inventories, and it took them a while to build it. Now that they built it, it sells, slowly, but it's just all about how you want to structure your business, Yeah, everyone's talking about sell-through rates in the chat. Sell-through rates are huge. The credit card point fallacy is so real. People convince themselves things they bought with points are free. It's amazing, right? Like technically, here, let's slow down. Technically, they are free, right? Because it's something you were going to buy anyway. If you use cash, you get nothing. If you use a credit card, you get like 2% back. So technically, it is free money, but it's kind of like when you go sit at the blackjack table at the casino, right? If you go sit down with $100 and after a shoe, you have $200, you can walk away right then and there. That's your $200. But then people convince themselves they'll lose it all, and they'll say, well, I only lost $100. No. You did lose $200. You could have walked out, cashed out. That was your money as soon as it was in front of you, right? And same thing with credit card points. It's like, no. As soon as you earn those points and they're in your point account, that is your money. You can go buy groceries with it. You can go, buy new inventory with it. That's your money. So you spent it on travel. Great. I mean, it was free money, but it was still real money to you. You could have used it elsewhere. So it did cost you. So yeah, I agree with that. People just like to, how do I put this? They like to, and it's not just to show off to others. I think it's like for themselves too. They like to make it seem like they're doing better than they are in any aspect, right? Like it's just like a human trait we like to do. We like to always convince ourselves, it didn't cost as much, or I made more money than I actually did, or things are better than they actually are. And it can be a good thing, right? It's good to keep your spirits high and keep that drive going and motivation. But yeah, it's not free. Nothing's free. Yeah, you got to look up pre-grading is key. Generally, the best of us bump that rate up by 20%. So a lot of dead subs. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like, a lot of the cards that are easy to grade that have 60, 70, 80% gem rates, they have very little margin, if any. Like, you'll pay $50, $80 for the card, and they're going to sell for like 100, 150, 120 as a 10. I mean, it's great. Look at some of the Evolving Skies cards right now. There's no margin. Like, the raw card will cost you like 100. The 10 will go for like 140. You're like, well, what am I doing here, right? And so the margins are razor thin right now. And then if you get a 9, automatic loss, automatic losing money, and then taking away from the profits you made on the 10. And so it just takes a lot of volume and a very good pre-grader to get enough 10s to offset the 9s and also make enough margin. Because here's the thing. If you go with the cards that are harder to grade, the 20, 30% 10 rates, you're going to get way less 10s. You're going to make crazy multiples on the 10s, but you're going to have to buy a lot more raw to find the 10. You're going to get a lot more 9s and 8s to get the 10. And that's all going to eat into that massive multiple 10 margin, which kind of averages out to about the same. So this is just the reality, guys. I'm trying to be real with you. I'm trying to just cut through all the fluff and all the mushy gushy rainbows and sunshine stuff. Like, this is the reality of making money in this business. No one claimed the Charizard. I still have it. I'm going to give it away this week again. We're going to try again. So stay tuned. Ava's binder doesn't know what she's talking about. Yeah, right, Ava. I think Ava knows a lot more than most of us are talking about. Ava, when are you coming on? When are you coming on the live? We got to set a date live right now. Let's set a date right now. Alex, thoughts on Paldean Fates? Seems to be some ploy from TCG, as 151 was. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be Hidden Fates, guys. It's probably going to be more like Shining Fates, like type thing. I hate to be that guy that's like down or like, I don't see it. I don't see it being that big of a set. I don't see it being that popular. It'll have the normal hype that any new set does, but it's not going to be like a blow your socks off 151 was. What do you think of the snooze fest of the last MMA fights? Yeah, I mean, well, first off, Tony Ferguson, he needs to retire. That's the first thing. And yeah, I mean, I even heard Dana talking about the next card. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. They're not putting together the greatest cards right now. And being the end of the year, it's very strange, very strange. And then that weird Jake Paul fight, like, barely, it was very small amount of promotion behind it. Some guy no one's heard of. He knocked him out in the first round. The guy didn't even look that good. Don't even understand what that was about. Very weird combat sports stuff happening towards the end of the year. I don't get it either. How do you feel about bulk selling to reinvest in the hobby? Do you mean like selling a whole bunch of things as bulk? Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. I know. Again, this goes back to like, it just depends on who you ask. A lot of people love having inventory. Me, I'm not one of those people. So like, people will say like, well, hey, I could take this binder of 50-cent cards to Collecticon and maybe sell a bunch of them. Maybe someone will buy out the whole binder, but maybe sell a bunch of them for $1. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, okay. Or I could just like sell it to a bulk buying company right now for 50 cents a piece, get all that money, reinvest it into cards, get those cards back all before I make it to a show and I can make more money on, so it's like, if I buy like a huge collection and I have tons of bulk Vs, right? I have 100 bulk Vs. I'll sell them to a bulk company. I'll get $50 for that. I'll use that $50 to go use, right? I'm not going to sit on 100 bulk Vs and hope they sell out little by little online or at Collecticon. It's crazy to me. But again, I'm not like this big sitting on inventory guy. I'm not that guy. I don't have thousands of cards of inventory. A lot goes into running a Pokemon card business. You have to do your homework. It's better if you are in the hobby for a good number of years with steel product knowledge. Yeah, exactly. You gotta really know what you're doing. You gotta, pay attention to your margins. You gotta constantly stay up to date on the news and the market and the fluctuations. And it takes a lot, and a lot of people, I gotta be honest, would be better off just working jobs, because, and I don't want to say this, like, I gotta watch how I say this because a lot of people, it's still hard for some people to get jobs, but guys, like a $60,000 to $100,000 job is not as hard to get as it used to be. It just isn't. And so that's where the majority of people are hoping to get to with their Pokemon businesses, revenue or income profit per year. And so, and it might take a lot less effort and it might be a lot less work to go get one of those easier jobs. So it's something to think about. Alex, you mentioned you aren't rushing into buying Scarlet and Violet. What do you think about, what you think you will start to? Oh, when do you think you will start to? Do you have time frame in mind, and are you keeping an eye on the market? I have started to. I've taken advantage of some TikTok sales on 151. I've taken advantage of some sales. My local card shop had Paradox Rift at $75 a box. If you bought it by the case, I bought those. So I bought some cases of that. And I deal with Scarlet Violet Base and Paldea from kind of when they were released. And so, yeah, I'm starting to nibble. I'm starting to find the deals. Like, here's the thing, guys. If you can find boxes in the 70s, we've never seen booster boxes in modern times go below 70s. It's a safe spot. Even in the 80s is pretty safe. So I'm looking for deals, right? When I have extra cash and when I find deals, I'm looking for them. I'm just not rushing out at release. I'm not rushing out and paying $100 or even $90 a box for a lot of these. If stores run specials and need to get rid of inventory and put them in the 70s and 80s, I'm buying them up. The rest of my money right now, it's going to my business. It's going into buying raw cards and flipping. That's where I'm at right now. That's how mega tubers grow their channel. Lots of surplus they have laying around, right? Right. Alex, what do you do with your ungradable raws when pricing goes down? Sell the raws at a loss, search new card quick for a quicker profit, PSA 10, or wait to get break even with. Oh, I think this card was already asked. Yeah, I sell off my raws. Like anything that I don't grade, it goes on TCG Player or it goes on eBay, and I immediately sell it back on the market. A lot of the time, I will wait a little bit on them as terms of like sitting on inventory if eBay is a good arbitrage play. What I mean by arbitrage is sometimes you can buy a bunch of near mint copies on TCG Player, say for $7, but that same card selling on eBay at $9 or $10, right? So I can realistically just let those sit on eBay, and even after the shipping and the fees, right? Because I can ship that in plain white envelope for 63 cents. Even after, I can still actually make money or break even on those cards. So sometimes I'll make arbitrage plays where I can buy on one platform and sell on the other, and then grade the copies that are gradable. So that's what I'll do. But if I have to take a loss and sell at a loss, I'll do that just to clear up my cash. Realistically, it's not much loss. Like, think about this. If you buy a $8 card, all right, and you buy tons of them, right? And to sell it, it's going to cost you 13%, so about $1, and then it's going to cost you about 70 cents to ship it. You're losing $1.70 a card, right? You got to sell 20 of them. You lose like $30. Big deal. It's not a big deal. One good 10 is going to wipe all that out. I'd rather just get out of them than try to sit and wait for months to come. It's not worth it for me, right? I go, right? I flow, baby. I keep things moving. I don't sit around and wait for things to come to me. I make things happen. Do you think there's opportunity buying the dip when new sets are released and singles prices drop? Do you ever wait for yeah, I mean, that's when you should wait for it. You should wait after release when things dip down to buy if you're looking to buy in. That's the time to buy. It's very rare that cards rise like a few months after the release. Like 151 or like that Magic card from Paradox Rift or from Paldea Evolve. Like there's weird situations, but most of the time it's a very steady downward trend after sets are released. Let's see. Why do you remove the boot? I didn't remove it. This is my office area. That's in my collection room, right? That's a different room. That's when I do my walking around talking videos. Eli's able to get better rates doing higher amount. He works hard to get. Yeah, Eli's got good pricing on his Patreon for sure. You just have to buy enough to make that monthly fee worth it. Brad, modern sealed investor YouTuber. I don't like sitting on inventory. Well, those are investments, right? Like, I like what you're doing there, but those are investments, right? Like, I'm not investing in PSA single slab cards of these brand new modern sets, right? Because I'm trying to get my money. I'm trying to make money off it, right? The sealed investing is where I make my income once I've made it, right? The whole buying raw, grading, flipping on the market, that's working. That's my job, right? I'm taking money I make from my job to put in investments for my money to work for me, right? I always go through this with people, right? So working is not the same as investing, right? You work at your job, you put money in your 401k, you put money into Pokemon, that money grows over time without you working, right? So yeah, I don't want to sit on my inventory. I want to turn as much of that as possible, buy more, and then put money into sealed investing that I don't have to work at. But so yeah, it's Brad. I know you're trying to get me, but that's kind of how that is. It seems like Nostalgianomics has moved more flipping than investing. Well, I told everyone I went full time. So flipping is a very real part of the business now. But no, I am not one of those guys who says everything's inventory or who says, I don't invest in this stuff. Like, no, 100% still an investor. I still put money into this stuff. Just this week, like I told you, I had 151 coming in. I had Paradox Rift. I bought a ton of Sword and Shield this year, more than what I already had. Like, still very much buying sealed booster boxes and putting them away as an investment. Absolutely. That's never going to change. Are you applying these rules to both singles and sealed? No, not at all. Sealed is not a flip. For me, it isn't, right? I don't have distribution and all that. The one thing you're missing from your spreadsheet is potential scamming. How much you weigh. Here's the thing, guys. Like, everyone always talks about that. I know people want to watch Rattle and want to watch Opossum Bud and other channels and think everyone's scamming and everyone's lying and cheating and stealing. Guess what, guys? I just passed 1,000 stars on eBay. I've sold over 1,000 items. Sell on TCG Player. I sell on PayPal. I sell through Venmo. I sell everywhere. Instagram. Discord. I've never been scammed. I've never been scammed. I talked about the one time I remember is when I sold. It was like in 16 or 17 when I first started in the hobby. I sold a Dark Charizard Hollow. All right. And I shipped it in a regular envelope. And the person said they never got it. Like, that's one of the only times. And obviously on TCG Player, sometimes I have people say they never got things. Big deal, right? But here's the thing. Like, that's the only quote unquote scam I can think of. Now, do I even know they scammed me? No. Maybe the mail literally didn't get it there. There was no tracking on those envelopes back then. So nowadays I send everything tracked, right? Now TCG Player, I still don't. I'll eat those costs if people say they didn't get it. But that's the extent of any scam I've ever done. And I've sold items that are 10K plus. I've sold multiple thousands and hundreds of dollars of items. Never been scammed. I've never been scammed. All right. So, like, I'm telling you guys, these channels, they blow it out of proportion, right? They find the 1 in a million transactions that people scam and they blow it up. So just the scamming is not that big of an issue. I promise you. Guys, I'm honest with you. If I was getting scammed, I'd tell you. I don't get scammed. Make sure you're doing due diligence. Make sure, if it's a high-end item, make sure you're asking for a signature. Make sure you're sending tracking. If you want to use insurance, you can do that. Like, you can take steps to protect yourself. But, don't sell to brand new accounts or sellers that look fishy or have bad feedback. Like, hey, that's one thing I will do. I'll cancel orders on you. I'll cancel orders. I've canceled multiple orders on eBay. If I look at their account and it looks fishy, looks brand new, looks like they have a bunch of negative reviews, I'll cancel it. So yeah, not sending it to you. I'll do that all the time. But I don't know. I think if you're smart and you kind of do, you're little street smart and you know what to look for, you won't get scammed, at least not very often. What's the best one piece purchase on the market right now? What are those? What are the is it Kingdoms of Intrigue? What are those boxes? I think those might still be in the 80s. Like, that might be the best those might be just way undervalued because everyone's overhyping one OP5, or maybe pre-ordering one of the new sets, like taking that play. I don't know, because if they keep going to the moon like OP5 did, you might be able to make some quick flips or be able to flip some of it, so you have your dollar cost average on the ones you hold a lot lower. But I don't know about the ones that are already out, like getting into Paramount War or Romance Dawn right now. It's rough. What do you think are good booster boxes to invest in at the moment and sell in a few years? Sword and Shield alt art sets. Probably anything but battle styles. Any of them. Chilling Reign. Baldwin Skies, I still think it's going to be $1,000 box one day. Probably it's going to be like the team up of this era. But, there's probably better boxes, because even if it went to 1,000, that'd be barely over 100% gain. But like Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, like all great. I think they're all great boxes. Oh, here we go. Godly Shad. I can't wait to read this. Me and him go back and forth on Discord pretty much a lot. What year percent gain do you expect to earn on your sealed portfolio going forward? Do you think you could show sealed portfolio at the beginning of 2024 and recap at the end of the year? Yeah, I look to beat the S&P. Beating the S&P this year is a little hard, right? It's like 20 something per. Well, I don't know if the S&P is 20 something percent. I know like our 401ks and stuff is like 20 something percent gain this year. But normally like average S&P gains like 10, 12%. So if my sealed inventory is gaining 15, 20, 30%, I'm happy, right? Because it's more risky, right? So you want it to do better than standard investments. So I usually look for like 20 to 30% if I'm lucky. Like if I'm looking, things are doing good. That's what I'm looking for. And then you're going to say, well, some stuff didn't even move. Well, yeah, I know, but then some stuff moved a ton, right? Like you can look at like some stuff that's in stagnant, then you can look at things like evolving skies, and they all kind of, that's why I kind of talk about buying every set, because it's kind of like a mutual fund, right? They all average each other out. Some do good, some do bad, some do great, some do terrible. And it usually averages out at a pretty good gain when all said and done. Alex is a 1.2 level investor. Hey, man, at least I'm not -1 like you, bro, you know? Lorcana got sold. I sold those boxes. Like I bought them for collection, and then I was like, you know what? I can buy these back like in a few months. Like things are going to keep dropping. I don't see Lorcana doing well in the near term. So, but I didn't have a Lorcana inventory. Those were the only 2 boxes I owned. I just wanted to have a box of each for a collection, kind of like my Ultimate Masters box. And now my One Piece box. That's now the only One Piece Romance Dawn I own. I sold all my Romance Dawn, but you know, I'm not a huge believer in Lorcana. I just wanted kind of one of each box. But yeah, I sold those because they're dropping like a rock, and I was able to get out at a good price. And I could buy back in right now, like less than I sold them for. So I don't know when I'm going to buy back in. I'll buy one of each box eventually. Market shows slab sell-through rate is 20%. So really want to look up on cards before buying the grade. Yep, 100%. Agreed. eBay Vault. So yeah, guys, eBay Vault's a thing. It's like 5% fees if you sell through eBay Vault. It's got to be $250+ cards, and they got to be graded. And you can send them to eBay Vault and sell them through there, and you can pay 5% fee. It's definitely something you can take advantage of for sure. If you want to go that route, you got to have higher value cards. Like I said, over $250. But yeah, eBay will hold them and ship them for you for 5% right now. That's pretty much what eBay Vault is. Or 5%, is it, or is it no fee? That might be getting that mixed up. That might be what like Dan and like Catch 'em All Collectibles and other people charge. It might be no fees right now. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm the worst person to ask about eBay Vault. I don't use the Vault services anywhere. I like to hold and sell my own cards. You say, well, Alex, you're missing out on money. Yeah, I'm missing out on a little bit. Like, to be honest with you, like my store said, I have an eBay store, and it costs a little bit per month, but the amount of like money I do per month, it makes sense. So like my eBay store plus my top rated seller, it usually only costs me between 11 and 12% to actually sell a card. I'm not paying 13%. So 11, 12% is what it costs me, eBay Vault, if I had to sell it. I mean, I don't know if it really makes sense for me right now. And I don't know how many cards I actually sell per month that are actually over $250. And so I like to hold and sell everything myself. It's just me. Maybe I'm leaving some money on the table, but I just don't use it. So I can't really talk too much on that. We all know the only way to make money in this hobby is mystery packs. Nostalgianomics packs coming soon. Not only mystery packs, all right? You can make money at events with wheel spins, right? We can make the wheels. We can do dice rolls. We can rip till you hit. Those are the true money-making ways. But Brad, you're right. Mystery packs are that's the money maker. Let's see. PC ETBs are high risk. Get a case if you want, or just cancel and buy 151 Japanese. Yeah, honestly though, Trial, you're actually right about that. PC ETBs are no longer the guaranteed money they were. They're reprinting them. They're overprinting them. They're just not coming out of the gate as hot as they were. The free money's gone. The free attendees are gone. You know, after you get them and pay the shipping and selling fees, maybe if you sell them local, you can make some money. But yeah, they are not the stonk they were, unfortunately. I'm not saying PC TVs are dead as an investment. They're just dead as a flip. Bulk card buying is a key part of stores, but storage costs and work is crazy. Most sales are one card or 15 to 20 cents. Yeah, I talked a lot about Eli about this. You know, I mean, he's got like thousands of dollars in machinery. He's got employees doing it. I mean, he sends a lot to TCG Player Direct, takes huge hits on the margins. It's just massive amounts of inventory. And it's like there's money there. It's not for everyone. It's a lot of work for sure. 100K in today's economy is closer to 65, 70K. It's the unfortunate truth, and it sucks. It does suck, but you're right. Are you thinking about flip/grade One Piece cards too? I have not. I don't know enough about the market, man. I don't know enough about the market to jump in and try to flip One Piece like I do about Pokemon market. It's not my area of expertise right now. I haven't taken the time to learn it. I am dabbling in Yu-Gi-Oh though. I have, and it's not like all the new stuff. It's just random Yu-Gi-Oh stuff that I've found that has some margin, such as like some of the 25th anniversary, like quarter century rares. I found they're actually selling pretty decently graded, and they're actually pretty good margins there. So I'm dabbling in some Yu-Gi-Oh. I may dabble in some One Piece and Lorcana and stuff. I'm just sticking with things that I see that are the sell-through rate's good, that have good margins, that I know about, that I think that has enough like guys, like when I say Yu-Gi-Oh, no, I'm not like going hard in Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm talking about like just the top end stuff, like Egyptian Gods, Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, like high, the stuff that everyone knows, everyone wants, and that has enough interest there. But like Pokemon stuff, it's a lot of it is just anything I can find that has a good enough margin, right? Where it makes sense where the 10 is going to offset enough of the raw and PSA 9s to make it make sense. And I don't need to like kind of hit home runs to make a good profit. But guys, even stuff where you win on, it's not as much money as people make it sound like. A perfect example. Okay. I'll give you a perfect example. All right. This is a real life example. The gold Reshiram Charizard Sun and Moon promo 247, right? Everyone knows. I've shown it before. Okay. I bought 20 of those. Okay. 8 of them were not gradable. Flipped those back in the market. I arbitraged some, took some gains, took some losses, pretty much broke even getting out of the singles. Okay. Sent 12 of them in to get graded. 2 of them got 9s. 10 of them got 10s. Okay. The raw price was $8, average of $8, $9. They're selling in 9s in the $25 to $30 range. The 10s I'm selling at $90 a piece. Okay. So the margins are fantastic, right? But I'm sitting on a lot of those 10s, right? I'm auctioning off some, the 9s, like just to get out of them, right? Taking maybe $25, $23 a piece. Okay. So I'm getting my money back. The 10s, I've sold a couple, made some money. But even think about that play, right? I had to lock up, some money to send them in, had to wait for them to get graded. Now they're back. $90 sale. Subtract the fees, subtract the shipping, subtract the original cost. Maybe making what? Maybe making like $60, $70 a card times 10 cards. All right, $600, $700. Move on. It's not a crazy deal. Like, so you have to find those plays tons and tons of times, and then you can't like just go all in on one play because it takes time for that to sell through. So you're sitting on that inventory. Even if it's good inventory, it's not dead inventory. They're selling, it just sells slowly. And so it's just like, you have to find so many of those to get to those hundreds of thousands of dollars marks just to make 40, 50, 60, 70 grand a year in this hobby. So, that's the long and short of it. That's the truth. That's what's behind all the big fancy sales numbers. That's what's behind all the big stonks people show you. People want to say, Alex, I made 300%. It's like, okay, great. I graded an $8 card and I'm selling it for 90, right? I made 1,000% gain. I made 1,000% gain on this card. Okay, you made $70. Get over yourself. Move on. Guys, again, I don't know why it gets to me. I don't know why I care so much. It's just, it goes back to the whole like Andrew Tate thing. Like, what color is your Bugatti? Like, that just is what comes to mind in this hobby when I see all the bragging about this, the sales data and how much sales you got and how many cards you sold and how big of a stonk your PSA 10 was, and the felt hat Pikachu, and it's just, I don't know why. I can't tell you why it gets to me. It just does. I just think it's so funny that people buy into all the sexiness of all that, because the truth is the net profit is nowhere near those numbers. Nowhere near. Mike's curious on the old adage of if you're doing what you love, don't work a day in your life. Just curious thoughts on a diverse corporate life. I would be very shocked if anyone in this business says they love every portion of it. What I mean by that is, do they love the sourcing, right? Do they love the selling? Do they love the shipping side? Do they love dealing with the customers and the question side? Do they love keeping their books? Do they love dealing with their inventory? Do they love making listings, right? You're going to find something in there that people don't love, right? That you just have to do, right? And so I don't know if anyone loves every aspect of this business, right? Because I could say the same thing in our corporate world. Like, there's a lot of things I don't like about it. There's some things I do like about it, right? A lot less responsibility, no risk. I mean, you've no risk, right? You show up to work and you do your job, you get paid. You don't have a risk of losing money going to work, at least with most jobs. And yeah, you got bosses to deal with and quotas to hit, or, you have projects and deadlines and things like that. Maybe some of you have to go to an office, but like there's benefits to so again, you just have to weigh the goods and bads and find out what's best for you. And then obviously how much money you're making, that plays away. Cause like if you're making like 50, 70 grand, it might not be worth it. If you're making like 200, 300, 400 grand doing this, well, now it may make it a little more worth it. So you just have to weigh, every individual person has to weigh that for themselves. My Hero Academia, that's a huge anime. It's going to be interesting to see if those cards do, if they make a big card game and it does well. But yeah, big risk, big reward on a lot of that stuff for sure. How's your regrade of 9.5 if the margin is right? Usually a 50-50 rate. So math generally works. Regrade is a thing. Yeah. You're talking about buying CGC, right? Like, I don't grade CGC. I never will. I guess I don't want to say never will, but very unlikely I ever will. I just don't believe in that company or the values they have. But yeah, so regrading 9.5s. Regrading anything. I mean, you can buy CGC 9s and regrade them for PSA 9s sometimes and make margin there. Yeah, grading 9.5s, turn them into 10s. There's margin to make. You got to be good at pre-grading. You got to be able to look at those slabs and look at the cards inside the slabs and really see if that's a true gem mint card or if it really is probably a glorified 9 at PSA. And so, yeah, it's definitely a thing. The risk reward is there for a lot of the cards, and it's definitely a play. I'm making some of those plays right now, 100%. It's definitely something to look for. What's your opinion on cracking 151 to open? Like, it's fun. I mean, talking about for a profit, like, I guess you have a better chance in that set than other sets to make a profit. I mean, on average, you don't crack packs to make money. Unless you're a store and you're cracking packs before release and you're selling the cards pre-release prices, you can do very well. As far as like this long after release, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. Pokey Post promos. Don't even know what they are. Don't even know what they are. You'd have to fill me in. I don't know. Or you can invest 20K in the greatest investments, 4x your money 5-6 years, and then invest 40K 5 to 6 years, and then invest 80K 5 to 6 years, and you're bringing in 320K a year after 15 to 18 years. Yeah. Yeah, you can go that route too, Trow. Yeah, the S&P doubles your money every 6 to 7 years lately, to be honest with you. I did the numbers. It's like every 6 to 7 years. Like I reached the end of the chat. I'm disappointed though. Ava's binder was here. Ava was here. Now she's not here anymore. I tried to ask her if she wanted to be on the live. She didn't answer my question. Trying to get Ava back on the live. She said she'd come back on once she came back to YouTube. But so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, guys, like that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to get out today is don't get mesmerized by your favorite YouTubers or by the big sales numbers or, by the stonks you see like, oh, I only paid $100 for this card. Now it's worth $400 in a PSA 10. It's like, no one tells you all the raw copies they got to get that 10. No one tells you the 9s they graded to get that 10. No one tells you the net profit left after all that to get the actual income. No one, and maybe the transparency will start to become, more and more in this hobby as people start to ask questions and people start to catch on. But guys, it's not just Pokemon. Any retail sales company, right? Just understand sales is just one metric. It tells nothing about what anyone's actually making. It's honestly, it doesn't really tell much of anything. To be honest, like I think I told you before, I mean, I could literally take $100,000 and just buy a bunch of random bullshit. I could auction it all off tomorrow, make 60, 70, 80, 90K of my money back, and then say, hey, I did $60,000 in sales in a week. I did $80,000 in sales in a month. Look at me. And people be like, oh my gosh, he's killing it. Look at his store, eBay store. It's like, what'd you spend on it? How much money you got in it? It's just, I don't know, guys. That's pretty much all I got today. Hope you guys enjoyed the live. Hope you got something out of it. I'll have some more videos coming this week. I will be giving away the Reverse Hollow Evolutions PSA 10 Charizard. So stay tuned for that. We went through 3 different people. 3 different people haven't claimed it. I've never had this much trouble giving away a $400 freaking card, but there's a first for everything. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to give it away one more time. And that's pretty much all I got for today. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for all of you who were chatting in the chat. And see you guys back here in a new video soon. I'm out.